So how I could see this working, and there's a few elements involved and there's a few stars that have to align, meaning if you've got all these things, if you've got a podcast, if you don't and you have the community, then there's a good opportunity that you can use this for podcasting. The next thing is having the infrastructure to create your own metaverse.
Welcome to the Soundboard with Tofe Podcast. To the industry leaders and forward-thinking companies, this is your resource to become a better podcaster. You'll be taken on a journey to learn tips and tricks around podcast strategy, editing, and curation. And here's your host, Tofe Evans.
Welcome back to the Soundboard with Tofe Podcast. I'm your host, Tofe, and in this episode, we are going to be talking about: can you have a podcast in the metaverse? Ooh. No, but really, it's something that has crossed my mind mainly because of a video I saw from Gymshark. Gymshark posted this not too long ago.
So soon come the first ever podcast in the metaverse. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it.
Especially if we get Perritt to come around and film us like setting up, putting the headsets on, showing our actual locations. Stop trying to punch me. And then showing where, do you know what I mean? And then showing what it looks like when we screen record on here.
That made me think they will probably be the first people to do it based on what they said, and they already have the technology, which I think is really revolutionary. Because in the last episode, when I was talking about how podcasts can be used as NFTs, this is an entirely different beast. Yes, it's digital, but the metaverse is a lot bigger than I think a lot of people can imagine. Yes, when Facebook did the rebrand as Meta and Zuckerberg had his video of him in the metaverse, that was cringy. That was really bloody cringy. And he seems a lot more robotic than human. It's obviously innovation to the Google glasses, if you remember those. They were pretty creepy as well. At first, I was quite skeptical on the topic, but when I can see the use of what it is, it can really change things. Now, I don't expect to live in a metaverse or have a restaurant in a metaverse because that seems kind of stupid in my opinion. It's a little bit different if I have family overseas and I'm trying to catch up with them in like a more physical manner. However, in podcast land, I think this could be really cool. Before I go into that, if you have no idea what the metaverse is, it's essentially a digital world that is very immersive and interactive by the use of VR, which is virtual reality, or AR, which is augmented reality. And then it gets really confusing because NFTs can be in a metaverse. You can do experiences in a metaverse. You can do shopping and meet friends and family, and it just gets really weird. It gets really, really weird. And it's a bit of a rabbit hole to go into. Even though I haven't got my head fully wrapped around this, I think the Gymshark guys are onto something. Like anything on the blockchain, it is decentralized, which means no one will have any control over it. And it's quite boundless, right? So there are no barriers between real and digital. And the metaverse is quite endless, which is kind of scary. I think of like a bit of a Skyrim. What I'm finding is it can be quite expensive because it is powered by cryptocurrency, and knowing how NFTs operate, man, some of those are very pricey. I'm not talking like Bored Ape kind of pricey, but I don't really have thousands of dollars to just throw around to purchase some of these projects. So how I could see this working, and there's a few elements involved and there's a few stars that have to align, meaning if you've got all these things, if you've got a podcast, if you don't and you have the community, then there's a good opportunity that you can use this for podcasting. The next thing is having the infrastructure to create your own metaverse. Now, key players like Sandbox, Decentraland, Sensorium, who have the infrastructure to create metaverses, even Roblox, that's probably going to be the hardest part because that infrastructure is the heavy lifting of it all. It's about having a community. If you've got a podcast or if you're quite an established brand, that's going to be no issue for you. Then it comes down to how often are you going to be doing these Metaverse podcasts? Well, that's obviously up to your discretion. But hypothetically, just say you do one every few months. You would create your own world. You could almost make it look very Minecraft-y so that it's quite pixelated. That would be kind of cool. And then the next part is how often are you going to have these? So just say you have them every few months, or you do like a bit of a tour style where you got like 7 in a row. You would have the people that are invited, they can actually watch it, and then maybe you can capture it all and make it your own content or have accessibility into that. And then it's about whoever can get in has their own VR headset so that they can access things and be inside the metaverse itself. There are so many elements involved that I really do hope Gymshark makes this before I ever will, so that I can see how they're doing it and I can observe and put my own commentary involved and then do my best to try and replicate it or work with a client that can replicate it. But yeah, it's just something I wanted to talk about because there is a lot of opportunity there. And like I mentioned in the last episode with NFTs, this entire digital world is going to revolutionize how we do pretty much everything. When I say this digital world, I mean the Web 3.0. Even in podcasts, it's going to happen to the point where you may interview a guest and it's going to be done in a virtual world. And that's going to be pretty bloody cool. And that's something I'm very intrigued to see how it will turn out. And look, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well, because surely I'm not the only person that has been thinking about podcasting in the metaverse. It's just a matter of when or if, depending on the technology and the infrastructure, and obviously the planning and execution as well. That's very important. Let's continue the conversation. And what I will do is I will put a link to the Gymshark video I mentioned in the show notes. And if you found this episode valuable, please share it around. And I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening, and for more information about Soundboard services, please check out the show notes. Lastly, Soundboard acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging.